ladies and gentlemen, and Carlos Braceras.
Hi, UDOT. How you all doing? Woo! So our social media folks said that they wanted me to yeet my face and keep my feed Gucci on Twitter. Does that mean anything to anyone? It doesn't mean it to me. So if you'll all smile here, we're going to do one of those facey things. What are you laughing at? Come on. 1, 2, 3. Tweet. All right. You guys look great. Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here on the first day of our 2019 annual conference. Life is good. We all have a great jobs working for what we all know as, come on, say it with me, the best damn DOT in the country. Come on, you guys. We work with amazing people who do amazing things every day, year after year. And it's exciting to be in the transportation industry in this extraordinarily pivotal time of our history. We just saw a video about transportation and the fact that it represents freedom. The freedom for all of us to move where, when, and how we want. It gives us opportunities that we would not have otherwise. And it's a critical element in establishing our quality of life. We have an extraordinary privilege here at the Department of Transportation of providing opportunities and choices to help create the communities of our dreams. You may remember last year I brought up this idea of community of our dreams during our annual conference. And you know what? Here's a shock. I've heard from many of you that my 35-minute talk, yes, we timed it, and I'm on the clock today, they tell me, didn't adequately describe my vision for this transformational shift in how we approach our work here. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think I saw this expression on a lot of your faces. And I understand your hesitation, I really do. We are, after all, a Department of Transportation. We operate and maintain the transportation system. So what does that mean? What does that have to do with building the community of our dreams? We don't build houses, we don't build apartment buildings, we don't build schools, businesses, parks, theaters, all those things that you would envision being a part of your community of your dreams. We build and maintain roads and bridges. Now we build bike paths and pedestrian trails. And now we're working with our partners to integrate roads and transit more so than ever before. That's what we do. Or is it? According to American entrepreneur Robin Chase, she said that transportation is the center of our world. It is the glue of our daily lives. When it goes well, we don't see it. But when it goes wrong, it negatively impacts our day. It makes us feel angry and impotent. That's not too good, is it? And it curtails our possibilities. I got a laugh over here. So if transportation truly is the center of our world, it stands to reason that transportation is the top priority for building the community of our dreams. Doesn't it? But really, what does that mean? With all of the transportation variables that are out there, and more to come in the future, exactly what does transportation look like in these future communities? And how do we provide for such dreams given the cold, hard realities of time, budget, and resource constraints? Keep in mind that we're talking about a system that moves people, not just cars. Yes, it includes an infrastructure for motorized vehicles. It always will, even if they're human-driven or driven autonomously. But it also includes bike paths and pedestrian trails, easy access to more mass transit than we've ever had before. And believe it or not, skyways for both freight and for passengers. More than anything else, the transportation system of our dreams, in the community of our dreams, will be about choices, options, and possibilities. Or in other words, freedom. Boy, I'm glad I'm not up here in a kilt. And I'm betting these folks here are as well, right? For several years now, we've been saying that our mission is to provide innovative transportation solutions that strengthen Utah's economy and improve our quality of life. That, in fact, is our mission statement. And more recently, we've been working with our partners to determine exactly what quality of life means. Now I realize that quality of life means something very different to different people. For instance, for Rick Torgerson, it probably has something to do with watching his children, who are all amazing athletes, participate in sports. To Brian Adams, it probably has something about going fast in boats and ATVs. And to Terry Newell, it probably is taking advantage of her labors in gardening and making bread and eating the results of that. And to Jason Davis, I'm sure the great outdoors fits in there somewhere, and some type of instruments of animal destruction are involved. However you define your personal quality of life, I think most of us can connect with the quality of life framework that was developed as part of Utah's transportation vision over this past year. The framework includes 4 dimensions. The first is good health, which I think would be high on everyone's list. And in this context, good health encompasses both the health of individuals and the health of communities. It connects with the role that transportation has, active transportation has, in both physical and in mental health. Safety is a critical element in the good health portion of this, as is the role of transportation in our environment. In my view, good health is more than just being alive. Good health is about being healthy enough to be able to enjoy the communities that we've built together. And strong economy. Strong economy recognizes the vital role that transportation plays in both the commerce and in the business of our great state. Better mobility. It refers to the traditional transportation roles that we've always been used to. Things such as moving people and goods to reducing delay. Those things will always be important in the community of our dreams. And then, of course, connected communities. It points to the correlation between transportation and land use, as well as the intermodal connections between walking, biking, vehicle travel, and transit. This quality of life framework is intentionally broad, but these 4 elements represent the critical elements that impact the life quality of all our fellow Utahns. They're the elements of work through which we could make positive change in the world in which we and our families live. And they're going to drive the types of projects that we pick and the conversations that we have with local communities. The framework gives us a shared language to talk with these communities about their dreams and their desires. It's also intended to influence how we both maintain and we operate our transportation system. It broadens our scope and expands our vision of who we are and what we do. And it redefines us as employees, consultants, contractors, and partners. Now, I know everyone in this room already believes that you have a role in improving the quality of life of all Utahns. The passion I see in you leads me to the conclusion that we are proud because we know what we do makes a difference in every single person's life. You know, more than 20 years ago, we were talking on this stage about something we called CSS, Context-Sensitive Solutions. In fact, I mentioned CSS during my talk last year when I introduced the idea of community of our dreams. And I always felt the most important part of that discussion was that first word, context. The context is always provided by the community in which we're working with. It's not our job to tell our partners what constitutes the community of their dreams. It's our jobs to listen, to learn, to understand, and to respond within the bounds of our role. Some examples. Tokerville. Many of us are familiar with this wonderful little town that sits in Region 4, sits between Zions National Park and I-15. The folks in Tokerville are very proud of their historic rural community in which they live in. And they would rather not have as much traffic traveling through their town on their way back and forth from the national park. And so to preserve what they have in their community, they've approached the Department of Transportation and our Utah Commission about building a bypass through the southern part of their town. They want to build a safe place for the businesses to grow. Meanwhile, they also want to make sure that they can decrease the vehicle travel in their little community. Meanwhile, up in Park City, Region 2, they want to bring people into their town. You know how it is. They want to bring people to visit their shops. They want people to come to their restaurants. And of course, they're looking for people to spend money. But Park City is not interested in increasing vehicle choices and having more vehicles go through their town. What they're looking for is they're looking for more transit options so that people can get into town, enjoy what that they have to offer, but that they don't have to drive their car in. Now, meanwhile, over in Heber City, they're experiencing the same pressures of growth. But they're talking about a bypass road around Heber City. And believe it or not everyone's in agreement about where that bypass road should be. And in fact, there's been some controversy around this. But our colleagues down in Region 3 are leading the discussion and providing information to those in the community, the elected officials and the public. Those are the folks that will help us make a decision about if we would build a bypass, and if so, where. Meanwhile, up in Region 1, Weber County officials are telling us that they want a new interchange at Mountain Green, even though that interchange does not rank very high on our prioritization process. They've approached the Transportation Commission and they said, if you build this new interchange, they will come. What they're looking for is to grow the economy in that section of their county. So you look at this, there's 4 different towns, 4 different mindsets, and they may not even realize it, but all 4 are looking at the quality of life framework of good health, better mobility, a strong economy, and connected communities. And these communities are making requests of us from within the context of their own unique perspectives. And that's just how it should be. It's their community, it's their dreams for the future. Our job is to come alongside them and in the spirit of partnering, help them achieve their dreams, whatever they may be. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I think so. It's really inspiring, invigorating to realize that what we're all about now in the future is about making these dreams come true. When it comes to good health, better mobility, strong economy, and connected communities, we make dreams come true. But there's always a but. In the interest of full disclosure, I should probably acknowledge at this point that there's always going to be limitations, as there always should be, to what we can actually do. We receive a budget from the governor and the legislature, and guess what? It's always been generous. Our elected officials have an appropriate appreciation for the importance that transportation plays in our great state. But even such, there's never going to be enough budget. It's only going to go so far. And we all know one of our core responsibilities, one of our core values, is fiscal responsibility. And we take that very seriously. This means we take great care with the taxpayer dollars that are extended to us. So when we talk about helping partners build the communities of their dreams, it's not because we're out there throwing dollars and bundles of cash at them. It will be because we're committed to a process that prioritizes wants and needs. It will be because we've listened to understand, and we are unconditionally constructive. Now, I heard a great story from one of our Region 4 employees that I think illustrates what I'm talking about here. He said he and his wife were remodeling their house. And when they started talking about this remodel, they had all these great ideas for what their dream home would be. I think we've all been there. But when they started adding up what this would cost, it was in the millions of dollars. And guess what? As a state employee, that probably wasn't within their budget. And so they started talking to each other about what was the most important, what was the things they were trying to get to. And what his wife wanted most was to remodel the kitchen and the living room, make a big, great room, and get all the nice, fancy stuff in there. But even to do what his wife wanted was going to cost more than the budget they had for the entire remodel of their house. And so as they started talking through this more and trying to drill down to really what the core need was, his wife came to said that it was really about finding a place that was big enough so that our families and friends can come together and celebrate parties and have different gatherings and things such as that. And so when it became clear that the goal was really about creating this gathering place for everyone, they were able to come up with some much more cost-effective solutions to be able to get to what they were trying to do. Now, the reason I like this example is because it kind of lays out some clear steps that we can work with our partners on in being able to get to the core issues. And so I think this same approach that we can use when we work with local governments and with our partners to help build the community of their dreams. Now, I think it's important to know, if it was easy to do, anyone could do it, because there's not one size fits all. Every single one of these communities we approach is going to have a different discussion. But I would suggest that there's 4 steps that can be broadly applied towards finding a solution. And the way you apply these steps is going to be different. It's going to be depending on the context. There's that word again. Context such as I talked about earlier, and the community and the location of the project, but also context of the type of project that you're doing. If you're doing a full reconstruction project, there's a different context than if you're doing what we in UDOT, our slang call an orange book job, or even if it's a maintenance activity. But you can still apply these steps, but you're going to apply them in a different way. You'll probably move through the process a little quicker. So, these principles, I believe, will help us in our work. So let me talk about what I see as these 4 steps. Number 1, I really look at this one as coming from Stephen R. Covey in his book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand. This is a tough one for us. We're the transportation experts. And we like to parachute into a community and we like to talk about what the answers are, because we know the answer. And in this step, we don't know the answer. What we're doing is we're listening and we're asking questions like the what questions. What are you trying to achieve? What are your dreams? What does this community look like in the future? And we're asking questions to better understand. We're not responding to what they're saying. Second, let's identify the core need. In this you're going to be asking questions like, why? So in this area, if you think about it, when we make the statement that we're all about moving cars, we're about moving people, not cars. When you realize that, the types of solutions that present themselves are whole different types of solutions than you might have realized before. And so you may want to apply a technique that was applied to business processes to help improve business processes. It's called the 5 whys. And the idea was that you would keep asking the question why 5 times. Sounds kind of annoying, doesn't it? Why? But I'm here to tell you, after you drill down about 5 times, you're going to start to get to the core need of what people really want. And it almost always comes down to a quality of life element in one way or another. Now, you may not have to ask the question 5 times. You could maybe do it 2 or 3, and all of a sudden they jump down to it. But it won't take long before asking those questions why drills down to values such as health, happiness, and connectedness. And when you start getting down to that, you can start to realize solutions that you might not have thought of before. Now, step 3. This is the design piece. This is how. How are you going to do this? And with our culture of innovation and teamwork, this part should be really fun for us. And so in this step, you're asking questions, how am I going to solve that? But you have to do this in a way where you don't commit to evaluating at this point. You just start coming up with solutions. Set a target, 50 ideas, 75, 100. It's a lot, I know. But what this does is it forces you to get pretty innovative. After the first 25, you're going to start to come up with things you never would have come up with before. Now, once you have this list of options, narrow it down to the best ones. You'll be able to do that pretty quickly. And then go into the 4th step, where you test it. You ask the question, will it work? Talk to your supervisor. Say, do you see any fatal flaws in this? Talk to your partners. Does this solution get to what you were trying to accomplish at the end? And then after you've tested it, go for it. Make those dreams come true. Now, it's a pretty quick look at these 4 steps. And what we're going to do is over the next year, we're going to offer training for all of us to be able to learn as an organization, as individuals, how to do this much better than we can today. And so we have a good options for learning there. We also have breakout sessions during this conference that are not specifically labeled that, but get to the skills that are needed for us to be able to be better at stepping through these 4 questions. Now, I know I'm asking a lot, but you probably can't remember at a conference before where I didn't ask a lot of you. But it's so important what we do. It impacts the quality of life of people in such meaningful ways. And I think that makes us the luckiest people in the world. If you get to do something that makes a difference for people, you are very lucky. We have a profound opportunity to make a difference in our communities in which we and our families live. But it's also a little intimidating, especially when you think about all the new transportation technology coming our way now at such a rapid pace. The technology that we use and implement in the future is going to have profound impacts on people for good or for ill. We're suddenly needing to use tools that didn't even exist 10 years ago. And we're needing to enhance, develop, and grow skills we honestly didn't think much about in the past. Things like relationship building, listening, and an unwavering commitment to collaboration. It's going to require your best efforts because we're asking you to adapt. We're asking you to change, to learn, to grow. But thankfully, we have exactly the right people here on Team UDOT. If you asked me to give you one single word to describe the men and women at the Utah Department of Transportation and with our partners, I would use the word character. Now, I'm not talking about this kind of character. I guess it's good that we have somebody that can pull that off. I'm not sure. What I'm talking about is the type of character where you do what you say you're going to do, even when it's hard. When you tell the truth, when people don't want to hear the truth. When you can give your keys to your friends and ask them to take care of and look in on your elderly parents when you're out of town, and knowing that they will do it. Character matters. The way we do things matters. Trust, integrity, passion, dedication, safety, fiscal responsibility, and public responsiveness. That's the kind of character I'm talking about. And that's the kind of people we have here at UDOT. People of character. People who get up in the early morning hours because it's snowing and the roads need to be plowed again. People who spend hour after hour looking at a computer screen, checking through invoices and rechecking figures to make sure that the taxpayer dollars are spent appropriately. People who spend 20 years building and managing projects with paper plan sets, who are quickly and successfully making the transition to digital delivery because they are willing to step outside their comfort zone in order to make our projects better, more accurate, and more efficient. People who work hard to build relationships with mayors and city councils so that the community partners trust them when they say, we don't have the budget to do what you want, but let's see what we can do. They know we will truly try to help. That's the kind of people we have here at UDOT. People of character. People who lead with their values. We've talked a lot about values these last few years, both UDOT's core values and your own personal values. There's great character in both who we are as an organization and who you are as individuals. When you bring those values and all that character together, we become a formidable force. Armed with our values and motivated by our character, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that we can't do. Build infrastructure that can interact with the connected autonomous vehicles? No sweat. Create designated air routes for freight and passenger drones? Easy peasy. Decrease travel times, increase public approval ratings, and push traffic fatalities to under 200, and all of those other things that we talked about 2 years ago when we introduced the top 10, a piece of cake. Helping Utahns build the communities of their dreams while improving health, increasing freedom, and strengthening the economy and connecting communities. Oh yeah, we got this. We are UDOT. We got this.
We will